Hello, Pastor Joel here at Chico First, and we're about to start a theme this summer, and it's going to be called the Summer of Joy, and it's going to be here at Chico First, and we're planning some Bible studies and some sermons for this summer with the theme of joy. In fact, that's one of the most repeated commands throughout the whole Bible, is joy. It says, we see and we read, rejoice in the Lord, or take joy in God. And I want to read to you from a passage on joy and rejoicing in God. And it comes from Habakkuk chapter 3, verses 17 through 19. And it tells us, even though the fig trees have no blossoms, and there are no grapes on the vines, even though the olive crop fails and the fields lie empty and barren, even though the flocks die in the fields and the cattle barns are empty. It says there in verse 18, yet I will rejoice in the Lord. I will be joyful in the God of my salvation. The sovereign Lord is my strength. And that's what we read in the scriptures. And when everything seems to be failing up and falling apart in our lives, these are those moments in our lives when we question God. We may even ask, how can I have joy during this time in my life? God, don't you see what I'm going through? Don't you understand what I'm feeling? And it seems in those moments as if the world is on the brink of disaster for us. And so we're left searching for God through all of the mess that's happening in our lives. And you see, Habakkuk, he's living in very difficult circumstances. God hasn't acted yet. There's no sign that the fulfillment of what God is going to do is even just over the horizon. But Habakkuk here, he chooses to have joy because he knows that God will act. And this is an anticipative joy. You know by faith how the story will end, and so you can already have a taste of that joy. Even in the midst of waiting. The midst of waiting for it to happen. You can still have joy. And even though things may be bad, and that for the foreseeable future it's going to stay that way, what we see here is that God gives him strength. In fact, God is his strength. In all of the chaos and all of the suffering of his day, God gives him stability. And God makes him able to go through this most difficult terrain in his life. And see, God can be our strength too, so that we can make it through those difficult moments and paths that we have in our lives that we have to walk through while we're waiting for the fulfillment of God. You see here, Habakkuk's ultimate summary is that no matter what comes his way, he is going to choose joy and he is going to trust God. Though the world seems to crumble, yet he will rejoice in the Lord. You see, this passage causes me to think about that old hymn, "It is well with my soul." And many people know the dramatic story behind this song. But Horatio Spafford wrote these lyrics. And he wrote them after a traumatic events that happened, a series of traumatic events that happened in his life. First, his two sons died in the Chicago fire of 1871. And the rest of his family perished 2 years after that when their ship, while it was crossing the Atlantic Ocean, sank. Yet, Even after all of those things, he was able to write these words. He says, "When peace like a river attendeth my way, when sorrows like sea billows roll, whatever my lot, thou hast taught me to say, it is well with my soul." What are you going through today? Does it seem like your world is just falling apart? What you need to know is this: you don't choose what you go through in your life, but you can choose how you go through those things. And I'm going to encourage you today to choose joy and know that God is good in your life, that God is just in your life, that God is merciful in your life. No matter what you face, you can choose to say, "Yet I will rejoice in the Lord, the sovereign Lord of my salvation." He is good. He is with you. And so choose to walk in the joy of the Lord, which is your strength. God bless you. I love you, and we're praying for you.